Hello, hello, everybody. My name is Evan Freiberger, and today we're going to be talking about the severe weather threat that is coming for tomorrow. Really, like the biggest day ever, but it's definitely something that if you live around in the Gulf Port or the Gulf Coast region near the Gulf of Mexico and a little bit further up to the north, you guys should be keeping an eye out for it. We will definitely be live tomorrow to cover that event, and also we're going to be talking about some of the current stuff that's happening right now. What's going to kind of evolve for the rest of the day today, and then going into tomorrow and talking about the severe weather risk for that. After that, I don't really have too much on my radar in terms of dangerous severe weather. We kind of have a marginal risk after that. We'll have to kind of monitor to see what the models will do as we get a little bit closer to that event. But yeah, as of right now, it's just kind of today and tomorrow. Where, believe it or not, we did have a 5% for tornadoes today, but so far nothing has happened, and that might continue to be the case, at least for one area in particularly. But how's everybody doing today? Had a good break? Yeah, I had a really good break, actually. Just been kind of sleeping and napping and then eating. Sitting outside, enjoying the aurora that happened. That was pretty darn cool. I never really thought that I would actually be able to see an aurora in Alabama of all states. So that was pretty cool. I got a lot of photos of that. Did any of y'all see the aurora? Oh yeah, and also happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching right now. And if you are not a mother and you're a son and you haven't said Mother's Day or Happy Mother's Day to your mom, this is your this is your reminder. You're running out of time. Uh, get some flowers sent or do something. Go outside, pick a daisy, or just saying it in general, which should be enough for most moms. I saw it in Arkansas. It was awesome. Yeah, I was expecting to maybe be able to capture like an exposed photo of it, but I was definitely not expecting to see it with my eyes, which was really cool. Really, really cool. Apparently, there's a chance for another aurora tonight, but who knows what's actually going to happen? Believe it or not, auroras are actually harder to predict than weather because we only have like one or two satellites to pick up some information of that, and so a lot of uncertainties on how the aurora is going to act tonight. I mean, even yesterday, I mean, people were all over the internet saying an extreme geomagnetic storm is coming, and it didn't happen because it's uncertain and just kind of like weather. So it's always good to know the possibilities if that is something you guys are interested into. You had great picks in Huntsville. Nice. Yeah, it really showed up down here. But all right, let's go ahead and get into it, I guess. So, these are the current conditions right now in Louisiana, and we'll be talking about other states as well here in a little bit. You can also see Storm Owner Media is out there again. They're over there in Texas right now. But yeah, you can see we do have one severe thunderstorm warning here in Louisiana. Ping pong ball sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. That is heading towards Bunkie and Cottonport, Menshura right now. So just make sure you guys are indoors and away from windows. Eventually, the storm will meander on over there towards Simsport. Shouldn't really be too much of an issue for Baton Rouge as it appears. These storms are kind of lifting to the north there a little bit as it progresses. We were a little bit worried about Houston today, but thankfully the lower level lapse rates have been absolutely abysmal. You typically want around 6 and above, and right now they're around 5. So any storms that have been trying to fire in this region have just kind of been piddly diddly. They've been staying blips on the radar and not really doing much at all in terms of maturing, which is good because if any storms did mature in this region and were able to latch onto that warm front, they could have posed a tornado risk there for Houston. But so far, so good. And it doesn't really seem like those lower level lapse rates will increase at all kind of in the future there. So we'll keep an eye on it. But for the most part, Houston should be all right. And thank you, Zinthroth, for the 10. I do appreciate that. Said he had a bad day, but excited to chill out and watch some weather coverage. Hope you have a good stream. Thanks, man. And today's mainly going to be a forecast. Not really too much going on out there for coverage-wise. There was a tornado watch earlier, and I've been monitoring it on radar pretty much all day. But the main area of the risk was not supposed to happen until pretty much right about now, maybe a little like an hour ago, as a warm front kind of lifted up to the north, and then storms could have latched onto that and started to spin. But as you can see, due to the lower level lapse rates, that really hasn't come into fruition. So the tornado threat as of right now is pretty low. Can't rule out a spin up with these guys, but these are north of the warm front, so they should stay elevated and mainly just a large hail threat. Coming over to here where we have a little bit of a different scenario. Over here near Guyman and Goodwell, still kind of watching for some sort of small tornado threat. We do have a lot of vorticity in this area, a lot of 3 Cape, which is just essentially instability. And these storms could try to rotate, maybe produce some land spouts, gust nados, and also we're watching for the potential for an actual tornado with these storms. But so far, nothing has really happened. And thank you, Zinthroth, again, gifting 5 memberships, man. You've been extremely generous to this channel on the last couple of streams, and I do appreciate that, guys. If you get a membership from Zinthroth, make sure you're saying thank you to him. Also, these are the storms that Storm Owner Media are on as of right now. They're kind of piddly diddly, but later on this evening, they are kind of forecasted to kind of form into a line, and we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But as of right now, you can see not a whole lot of hail in these storms. Not a whole lot of rotation with them either. But as they kind of propagate to the east, these are actually going to be kind of some of the storms that eventually form into kind of a mesoscale convective system. And that is eventually what's going to be causing the severe weather for tomorrow, as that organizes and brings a line of damaging winds, very large hail, and the potential for some spin-up tornadoes along that line as well. And believe it or not, we also have some storms up here that are basically feeding off of a little bit of instability and vorticity. We've actually had a couple of reports of land spouts and gust nados here near Lamar, but we do still have a little bit of a severe thunderstorm warning near Grand Junction, Colorado, keeping an eye on that as well. And then last but not least, in terms of current conditions, if we come up here towards Wisconsin, you can see that we do have some piddly diddly storms out there, nothing really too intense. There was some severe thunderstorms up here, all on the low end, not expecting a tornado threat up here. And in fact, the severe threat seems to be dying down a little bit up here, but just keep an eye on it. There's still a small chance for a couple severe thunderstorm warnings here and there. So if you get under one of those alerts, just make sure that you are indoors and away from windows. I'll probably still be monitoring the storms even after this forecast tonight. So, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Also, just got a new update on this severe thunderstorm warning. Now warned for golf ball sized hail, so a little bit larger, could potentially put small cracks in your windows, maybe a couple of dents in your cars. Main thing you want to be focused on, though, is getting your pets indoors for this one, and that's going to be in Sim Sports, Louisiana. So let's kind of talk about some of these days coming up ahead here. So we do have a slight risk going into tomorrow. Let me kind of move this radar out of our way at the very least here. We do have a slight risk out there, so that's a 2 out of 5 for severe weather. I do think we could have a small chance for maybe something a little bit more intense than a slight risk, kind of in this region here near Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Mobile. That really does seem like where all of the ingredients kind of come together pretty well for potential for very damaging winds, large hail, and maybe can't even rule out a strong tornado along that QLCS line. Around that, we have a marginal risk that extends all the way up into Missouri, going all the way down into South Carolina, also kind of nosing into parts of Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. So yeah, I mean, it's not a very high-end day, but I feel like this is one of those days that where we go into tomorrow, we might get a last-minute update kind of increasing the ante a little bit for this storm. So I definitely think it's going to be something that we need to watch overnight, see how the models progress in all of that. And it's also one of those days where maybe not a whole lot happens because, it really just depends on where the track of the surface low ends up going. But in terms of the tornado risk out there, we do have a pretty large area where tornadoes will be possible tomorrow. In the 5% region, that's a 5% for tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of you. So if you're in any of these cities, that's what that means. That's going to be for New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Beaumont, Shreveport, Monroe, Jackson, Meridian, Mobile, Pensacola, Dothan, and then around that we have a 2% for tornadoes. That's going to be for parts of Georgia, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas, and parts of Florida there as well. So if you live in any of these areas, definitely be weather aware tomorrow for the potential for spin-ups. One of the bigger risks, though, for tomorrow is going to be that damaging wind threat. Again, we're going to have kind of an MCS form here, and along those MCSs, you can get some pretty heavy winds, and potentially over 75-mile-per-hour winds and above are going to be possible here for Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Mobile, Pensacola, a little bit further up to the north there towards like Thomasville, Monroeville, Laurel, Hattiesburg, Macomb, Mississippi, Natchitoches, Alexandria, Louisiana, and even parts of Texas, Jasper, and Newman could be getting into those winds as well. Around that, we've got a yellow area here. That's a 15% chance for damaging winds of up to 60-mile-per-hour winds and above outside of this black outlined region. And then we got a brown around that, a 5% chance for the 60-mile-per-hour winds and above. And then also another big risk for tomorrow is going to be the large to very large hail risk. And that's going to be more in the morning going into the evening for like Austin, San Antonio, Victoria, Houston, College Station, Waco, Tyler, Shreveport, Monroe, Jackson, and Baton Rouge here within this black border region. And then around that, we do have a 15% chance for damaging or for large hail of up to quarter size there near New Orleans, and also parts of like Corpus Christi, Beeville, Kerrville over there in Texas. Then we've got a larger area, a 5% risk here of quarter-sized hail and above. That's going to be for Birmingham, Montgomery, Dublin, Mobile, Fayetteville, south of Springfield, Dallas, and Nuevo Laredo there. So a lot of different areas that need to be weather aware for tomorrow as the storms come through. Now, next what we're going to do is look at the timing for the severe weather. So we're going to look at the HRRR first, and then we'll look at the NAM after that, just to see how the models agree or differ. So let's kind of head and come over to the latest kind of longer scale run here. What the heck is going on Storm Intermedia's view? That looks like hail. Hold on, let's listen in. Oh, geez. It is a little bit of hail. And some gusty winds. Look at that. Getting a little dicey out there. Not large hail, but it sounds like sleet. Or a little bit bigger than sleet. So maybe some like pea-sized to nickel-sized hail. Very interesting. This is over there near Sterling City, Texas. We'll be keeping an eye on them, but we're mainly doing a forecast for today. So yeah, pushing this forward, you can see it. We're going to have these storms kind of fire and kind of push off to the east, and eventually we should get this little MCS thing form. And you can see right around, let's see. This is today going into tomorrow. So yeah, right around in the morning hours, you can see we got a little cluster of storms there, and they start to surge to the east really early morning, pushing all the way down into like Dothan and Tallahassee. That could be a damaging wind threat there. It's possibly a severe threat as well. And then on the back side of that, as we get into the evening hours of tomorrow, you can see we do have another storm starting to form here near Houston. So that will start in like the early morning, right around like 9 a.m. there for like Austin, San Antonio there. We have a kind of a little MCS start to form back here, and that pushes through like Austin, San Antonio by around 11 a.m., and then that pushes towards like College Station, Houston, League City in between 12 and 2 p.m., and this is going to be our main threat for today. Also got to watch some of these storms that are kind of lingering there near Baton Rouge as well, and then that kind of pushes off to the east by around 4 p.m. We still have this line. You can see we have a lot of those pinks and black colors. All of that is that large to very large hail associated with this line. And let's go check in on the kinematics here to see what these storms are feeding off of and to see what their threat is. So this is a surface-based instability. We're going to have plenty of that, potentially 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram out in front of this storm. So plenty of instability. Now we're going to look at the spin. So we're going to look at the upper level atmosphere first. Definitely got some winds up there. Looking at the surface, though, you can see the lower level winds are mainly associated with this line of storms. As that pushes off to the east. And you can see the further we go east, the more those lower level winds kind of intensify. And so we keep pushing this over there near like the Baton Rouge and New Orleans. I do think is a corridor we really got to watch for those quick, brief QLCS spin-ups. And some of those could be on the stronger side. So definitely watch you guys in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. But that tornado threat could start as early as eastern Texas, pushing up all the way up into like Louisiana, and then moving into Baton Rouge and New Orleans as we get to the nighttime hours at around 5 to 6 p.m. So definitely a decent amount of spin in the atmosphere. Definitely got to keep an eye on this MCS as that pushes off to the east. And then after that, the latest HRRR model is saying this thing dives to the south, and then that's it. So looks like over to the east, kind of in the overnight, early morning hours, that main threat, which should stay elevated, mainly a damaging wind and hail threat. That's going to be overnight into the early morning hours of tonight, going into Jackson, parts of southern Alabama by the time we get into 7 a.m. And then 11 a.m. could have those storms start to push into Mobile, parts of the Florida Panhandle, and that sags all the way down to the south. And then that threat should start to minimize by the time that pushes past Tallahassee by the time we get into around 4 p.m. And then we're going to have the second round of storms that's mainly going to be a threat there for parts of Texas, going into Louisiana as we get into the afternoon hours. And again, this could definitely bring a punch in terms of damaging winds, very large hail, and that tornado threat. And I really do think it's going to be maximized here with this second storm. But just in case, let's kind of go back here and look at the kind of environment these storms are going to be in. So let's go over to the surface-based Cape. Yeah, not a whole lot of instability out in front of these storms. It looks like they're a little bit north of that instability, so a little bit to the north of that warm front. And then you can see that we do have a spin in the upper atmosphere. In the lower atmosphere, not as much, but a little bit there as that pushes off to the east. So there might be a small possibility for a spin-up tornado there, but it seems to be on the very low end of everything, given the fact that these are going to most likely be elevated storms. But let's go see as it approaches the coast here if that instability starts to increase. And let's see, bring this back just a little bit as it goes into like Panama City. Yeah, definitely a little area there of some instability as that goes into Pensacola, maybe a little bit of a higher risk for some tornadoes or spin-ups as this pushes down into the coast, which sometimes we see with these events, especially, you get that lower friction with the ocean. So maybe also a little bit of an elevated tornado threat going into like Panama City and Apalachicola. And that will be kind of in the evening hours. So, or not the evening, but like the early afternoon, around lunchtime, 12 p.m. to about 4 p.m. And then after that scrapes off the coast, that's going to be pretty much done for there. So definitely need to keep an eye on both of these storms. That's going to be the threat tomorrow. We're going to be covering that in detail. Who knows? We might have to go live super early if they start really doing if they start misbehaving, if the storms start misbehaving a little bit earlier, might have to go live earlier over here near parts of Mobile, or maybe over there near Austin and San Antonio. Maybe we get a favorable merger and a storm tries to become tornadic over there a little bit earlier than expected as well. So definitely a couple different scenarios in which these storms could potentially be an issue. Now, further up to the north, let's go focus further up to the north. We do have a little bit of a low pressure system up here, so that's going to be mainly for like parts of Oklahoma going into Arkansas and Missouri. You can see that it tries to convect some storms over there near Fayetteville by around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then pushing it all the way through. You see those storms don't really last for too long, but as we get into the evening hours, we have a secondary little line here that could fire there near McKinney and Dallas, bringing some marginal chances for severe weather there near Fort Smith, and then that pushes towards Little Rock by the time we get into 10 p.m., and then further off to the east, maybe some extra severe weather over there near Memphis by the time we get into the overnight hours at around 1 a.m. What are they looking at over there? Is that a storm? That's certainly a storm. Storm with potential for some smaller hail in it. That's what it is. Again, this is Storm Runner Media on YouTube. They're there in Texas near Sterling City, Texas, and they definitely got a little bit of a view here of what appears to be somewhat of an elevated supercell. Small tornado risk with this storm, but you never know. You could always get you can't always rule out a tornado with any storm in Texas. But so far, it seems like these storms are behaving themselves. As if we come back over to here, you can see we don't really have a severe thunderstorm warning for that storm right now, so not too intense. But yeah, that's the general timing for the severe weather there. So let's kind of move in to the next day, or let's actually keep on pushing it through for like the northern regions here. So yeah, it looks like it's mainly going to be Memphis there at the tail end of this event, and then as we get into 6 a.m., this is technically the next day when you're talking about the severe weather risk out there. So let's go to day 3 and start talking about that. So we do have a kind of a marginal risk on day 3 as well. That's going to include parts. So that is not going to be tomorrow. That's not going to be the day after tomorrow. That's going to be, let's see, that's going to be Wednesday. So tomorrow's going to be, well, hold on. No, that's going to be Tuesday, I think. Hold on. Today is day 1, day 2. Yes, Tuesday. Sorry. But yeah, that's going to be Tuesday. So it's going to be for Birmingham, Montgomery, Dothan, Mobile, Atlanta, Augusta, and Columbia. Jacksonville, Gainesville, and Tallahassee, again, are going to be in that threat. And that's going to be for this storm that is approaching, that kind of stalls over Memphis and then kind of pushes off to the east. The HRRR is not quite in range, so we can't really say too much about it, especially given so much of day 3 or Tuesday's risk is going to be influenced by what happens tomorrow. But if we come over here to the NAM 3K and then kind of push this forward, we can get at least our first look at the storms as they push into the southeast on Thursday. I mean, look at that. Decent amount of convection out there across almost the entire state of Alabama, where severe storms could be possible as we get into the early morning hours of the 14th there. Let's kind of go over to the 500 millibars. Actually, a decent amount of upper level shear and a decent amount of lower level shear, especially there further to the south. But the NAM tends to overestimate the shear values, so that's why I kind of want to wait for the HRRR to come in before we say anything too definite. But there's definitely going to be some sort of tornado risk and severe risk with these storms, kind of initially in the early morning hours, and then as that pushes off to the east, you can see that it really clears out getting into the afternoon, and then we have these storms kind of form on the backside there that are kind of piddly diddly, and maybe a couple of extra convection over there near Savannah and Charleston. But the HRRR, when its solution comes out, it's going to look completely different from this, and then so will the other models. So, kind of just a basic kind of rundown there. We don't really have the tornado probabilities out of this right now. I would assume it would be somewhere in between 2 to 5% as well going into this day. So definitely something to keep an eye on going into Tuesday. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown there. Another thing that I want to talk about for the folks up to the north, something that you got to keep an eye on, especially if you're like older, like getting up into your 60s or 70s. The Canadian wildfire season is ramping back up, and it's starting again, and we're already starting to get smoke push into the United States, especially over there near Wisconsin and Michigan. And this is a look here. So if I zoom out, you can see this is up there in Canada. You see these storms really exploded in intensity, or not these storms, these fires really exploded into with intensity there. And as you can see, that is trailing a large trail of smoke into parts of Canada. And then this little low pressure system is actually bringing down a decent amount of smoke there. So that would be up here near Wisconsin. If we come back up here, that would be filtering in behind this line. So you're going to get a little bit of rain first, and then that smoke is going to come in on the backside. It's probably going to smell nasty if it's near the surface, kind of make visibility a little bit odd. So if you wake up tomorrow and you're seeing like weird colored skies, not blue skies, that's what's causing it. And this is going to be, again, a very early beginning. It was a drought up there. I do think we're going to get back into another repeat of what happened last year, where we just had tons of smoke billowing into the United States, especially during the summertime, and that could cause some health issues in terms of your lungs and in terms of your heart. And that's really getting started. If we come over, I want to see if we can get like a current radar or a satellite view. Yeah, there it is. You can see it very clearly. Now working its way into northern Wisconsin. Almost all of the state of Minnesota is somewhat in that smoke. Not sure if it's surface based. If you're smelling it, then it's definitely surface based, and it could have some health effects there. But that's just going to be the beginning. Those wildfires in Canada, man, they just burn and they just burn and they just burn and they don't really stop. And so, this smoke could definitely get a lot more intense as we go into the immediate future. Just another thing that I wanted to touch on there. What else did I have to talk about? I had something else to talk about. Oh, yeah. Also, the latest, I'm not sure if you guys care or even are concerned at all with what the sun's doing and what's it sending our way, but we do have kind of our most recent data here. Seems like the aurora chances are kind of falling right now for a lot of people in the United States. If you lived up there in Maine or Vermont or New Hampshire, you might be able to see something there. Also into parts of Michigan as well, but it does seem like that smoke's going to ruin your chances there in Wisconsin and parts of Minnesota. But it is kind of falling from the peak and where it was. If we put this in motion, it's kind of hard to see. It's pretty small. But if we put this in motion, you can see it really did kind of get a little bit intense there, and now it's kind of fallen back down. And that doesn't mean nothing's going to happen tonight. It just means that this thing is kind of cycling here. We'll have to see if it gets more intense or not. But it does seem like it is trying again, at least, but it's a little bit on the weak side right now. You're definitely not going to see it if you're anywhere south of like Illinois. But the biggest we've seen today is a G2, which is 2 out of 5 there. And you can see on this scale, the KP index is pretty low. But yeah, so keep your eye out there tonight. No guarantee that it will happen again. Space weather is harder to predict. You okay, Jazzy boy? Sorry about that. Space weather is harder to predict than real weather. But it certainly could happen. And if we go look at the total United States here and the cloud cover that is currently out there, we'll look at that for you guys as well. We'll come over to the geo color. You can see that a lot of folks are going to be kind of socked in the clouds here further to the south. Not like it's really going to matter unless we get another very powerful CME or solar flare. But so then if that happens, we're all going to be sad in this circle here. It does seem like Michigan, and in this corridor here, it's pretty clear. Some spotty clouds, but you still might be able to see something up here to the north. Unfortunately, this smoke is really going to put a damper. I mean, it's pretty clear out here, to be honest. Pretty clear. If there was no smoke, you'd probably be able to see the aurora if it does do something later on tonight, sometime between 9 and 4 a.m. But if that smoke continues to linger, you might not see much there. I'm not sure exactly how thick it is. Haven't really looked into that. The West Coast, though, is looking clear. Not like it's going to make it down there unless, again, we get another big storm. The biggest chances are going to be up here in this region. And it looks like most of y'all are clear, but it does seem like parts of Minnesota, not Minnesota, parts of Montana are also getting in on that smoke, but the Pacific Northwest is looking pretty clear, especially up there in Oregon. You guys could have pretty decent chances, no matter what the storm does, to see an aurora if you look up out there. Did I have anything else I wanted to go over? Oh yeah, let's go look into kind of the long term here using the NWS's page just to see if we have anything further down the line. But yeah, it looks like almost everything here is predictability too low, which means there could be storms possible on these days, but models aren't really agreeing on much going past Tuesday, so they haven't issued like a slight risk or anything after that. Let's see. Oh, does anybody have any questions in terms of the tornado outbreaks that happened like in specific, like of a certain tornado. We also have our little damage assessment toolkit here. If you guys want to know any of the latest data on that. But if not, then or we'll answer those questions as we move through. But let's go ahead and put everybody's pins on the map here for tomorrow, because I'm sure we have a couple people that do have some questions in regards to the severe weather that is coming tomorrow. Barnesdale. Let me see. Oh, it's pretty far back, I think. So I have to put this a little bit further back to the 4th. Submit. There's actually no information on the Barnesdale tornado for some reason on this website. Let me go back to the 1st. Yeah, I'm not seeing it at all. That was in Oklahoma, right? Yeah, they haven't put it on the website yet. But I know that was an EF4. It was actually rated there. Carthage, Missouri. Let me see if they've updated that one. Carthage is not showing up. I'm gonna have to put like this. Missouri. I know it wasn't the yeah. So Carthage, Missouri, there it is. So an EF1 happened there. Looks like it started somewhere near Gum Road, moved up towards like Morgan Heights and then Witten Road. And then we have some damage indicators here as well. So let's go look at it. Yeah, some trees down there, and then we have another damage indicator here. Oh wow, look at that. Decent amount of roof damage there to that property, and a lot of trees snapped in half there. Wow. Definitely was a little bit stronger there, it seems. It looks like they estimated a 95-mile-per-hour wind, so that roof must have not been very strong there. Then we have another one here near Fairview. Yeah, lots of trees. Look at that. Lots of trees back there. All those little brown things are the bottom of the stumps there. And then we had an EF0 damage indicator near Gum Road with some tree limbs down. I'm not sure if they've updated it with the Pennsylvania tornadoes. Yeah, we can look at the Huntsville, Alabama tornado. I guess we'll do the tornado questions first, and then we'll move back over to the forecast. It seems like a lot of people are curious about that. Unfortunately, let me see if I can take off this. Yeah, take off the damage polygons. There we go, so we can see a little better. But yeah, it looks like over here near Huntsville, looks like the tornado started south of Pratt Avenue, went through like Eccles Hill, and then south of Mountain Brook there. Have some damage indicators. This is trees, softwood. So that was, yeah, look at that. Tree fell on that house there, and that was off of Kernamers Drive. I don't know why that's so messed up, but that's near Hermitage Park there. And it looks like the cemetery, Maple Hill Cemetery, also was impacted by the storm. You can see we had a lot of trees down. That's off of California Street. I recognize that. And then we had some damage indicators over here near Clinton. Now, I'm not sure if these are different tornadoes or not, because I know I saw a tornado there as well. Yeah, lots of trees down here in the historic, near some of these historic homes here. Yeah, big tree down there as well. That's off of White Street Avenue, and then that tracked all the way south of Montesano. Sorry, I don't know why I said Santa Monica. Montesano. I actually drove up this road. There was definitely some trees down. I don't know if there was any house damage, but there was certainly some trees down in this area. So I think the tornado might have continued over there towards Montesano Boulevard, in my opinion. but they did update this to include Doug Hill Road, and I drove down this Williams and Broad Street here. There's even trees down as far north as Rogers Drive, but I'm sure that was some wind damage there. But yeah, this is an EF2 tornado. This went north of, let's see, Detroit, Old Highway 41, and I think this is Hampton Cove here. I'm not sure. But this over here, this is McMullen Cove. And you can see that we do have some EF2 damage indicators here. And that was mainly just this house here. You can see the roof was almost, like, I wouldn't say completely destroyed, but parts of it were definitely impacted pretty greatly there. These are really well built houses. So, I mean, it would take a lot stronger of a tornado to cause much more damage than this. But yeah. Really glad that a lot of the people out here in our local area in Huntsville made it through pretty good. Also, little update, we did have a little bit of an EF0 tornado over here. This was south of Athens and southeast of Athens, south of Harvest in Madison, Alabama. You can see that we had some trees uprooted in this area. And believe it or not, we had an EF1 in Alabama as well. I mean, an EF3 in Alabama as well. And that was mainly due to this damage indicator here, where a house was pretty much completely destroyed right off of there on the off of, I think that's the Tennessee River or Wheeler Lake. And there you can see a lot of damage was done to that house. And that was actually, I think it started off as a water spout, if I believe. Yeah, it started off as a water spout and then moved on to shore and caused a decent amount of damage. Also had an EF2 damage indicator here, where you had a house that pretty much almost completely lost their roof. It was right next to that other house that had that EF3 damage indicator. Check this out, a double rainbow on Storm Winter Media. Look at that. You can barely see the second one. It's just to the north of it, or to the top. It was showing a little bit better. Maybe it's just a single rainbow. It's just a weird... I thought it was a double rainbow. Maybe not. Am I going crazy? Hold on, let me go back. Maybe the other one. Yeah, there's two there. There was two. Okay. I was going crazy there for a second. What about the Haniger one? Let me check that one out. So I think that one was also rated an EF3. Yeah, it was. And we had, yeah, one EF3 damage, or a couple EF3 damage indicators here. Metal building. Okay, that's not the best photo there. Something happened there that apparently was EF3 damage. Let's come up here. Trying to find that one I saw earlier. Okay, so they're looking at the anchor bolts here, or some sort of bolt on that building there. Trying to find. Yeah, I guess that's it there. So some sort of metal building was destroyed there. Then we had a lot of trees snapped, softwood snapped, a little overturned camper. Here, this was EF2 damage. And then we had a mobile home completely destroyed there as well. And you can see some trees down, mobile homes absolutely absolutely demolished there, unfortunately. I don't know the outcomes from that, but it definitely was some unfortunately bad damage. And that's what happens to those mobile homes. But that was an EF2 tornado, and that mobile home is completely gone. And you can compare that. You know, this is why we tell you to evacuate when you're in a mobile home, because that's EF2 damage there. Now compare that over here to McMullen Cove, where you have these really well-built houses. The same kind of wind speeds and just a little bit of roof damage, or a decent amount of roof damage. I mean, they're probably gonna have to. They probably condemned this home, which means they'll probably have to rebuild after that damage. But I mean, still, you know, you can see the difference. You know, when you're in a house, you can seek shelter in the lowest, most interior room of your house. But when you're in a mobile home, That's not necessarily the case due to the fact of just how weak those buildings are. And then here's another EF2 from Hanager, Alabama. There, yeah, big difference. Big difference. Let's go check back in on the current conditions here really quick. So yeah, still got ping pong. Looks like they downgraded this back down to ping pong ball-sized hail south of Simsport, heading towards South Francis and Jackson. That's still in Louisiana there. Looks like they allowed that severe thunderstorm warning in Colorado to expire. Still got this one going near Guyman. Let me see if we got a new view on this storm. I was looking at it earlier on this cam. It looked crazy earlier. Almost thought I saw a funnel on it. Oh wow, look at it now. It's not a bad view. Let me minimize this and then bring it back up. Look at that. So there's that severe thunderstorm there from Guyman, Oklahoma, and you can see not seeing any lowerings, no wall cloud on this storm, mainly just the hail and damaging wind threat that pushes south of Guyman, Oklahoma. Just make sure you're indoors and away from windows with these storms. Oh, it wasn't showing the pics. What was I talking about? Sorry. What was I talking about when I wasn't showing the pics? The differences, probably. What was the tornado emergency in Michigan rated? So that one I think was near Portage, right? Yeah, Portage was rated an EF2, and there's only one damage or a couple damage indicators here. Yeah, house with roof damage. Yeah, that house completely lost its roof as well. Lots of snap trees there. Yeah, same picture. So that was near Portage. Portage was the tornado emergency, right? Or was it Centerville? I don't remember. It's all kind of a blur. We covered so many different tornadoes. Was rated. It should be rated. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to be in here. Yeah, I think this was from a long time ago. Yeah, that was from a while ago. They haven't rated it or it hasn't been put on. I'm sure they've rated it by now, but they haven't put it on this damage viewer, which they don't usually do until like a day or two after they come out with an official rating. Sometimes it all comes in at the same time. Centerville was the tornado emergency. Okay, so yeah, you can see looks like it was rated an EF2. We have some EF2 damage indicators here. Oh wow. Yeah, kind of a smaller house here. Collapsed wall. Looks like the roof was moved off of the house itself, but it's still on there, but it like got shifted there. That's scary. I mean, yeah, I mean, most of these photos that we have seen of these houses, though, you can really see why they say most interior room. Like, imagine if your bathroom was right next to this area of the house, right? It would be bad if you were in there because, as you can see, the wall collapsed, and you would have most likely been either pelted by debris or, unfortunately, lifted out of your house. But when you're in the most interior room, even for a house like this, which really doesn't look too well built, but it's built well enough. EF2 damage, which is pretty average kind of tornado, maybe a little bit above average, or yeah, above average of a tornado there. You can see that you can still survive even in a less of a well-built thing there. Then we also had some EF2 damage reported over here east of Sherwood. This is again in Michigan. Looks like we have some damage from that. Oh wow. Yeah, so EF2 tornado on a very well-built house here, and a tree that I can't tell if that's a tree that's impaled into that house, like if it was lifted and pushed in there, or if it fell and hit it. Kind of looks like it was impaled. Like it was thrown by the tornado. I don't see a stump anywhere nearby. That's pretty impressive for a tornado to do. I wonder if they could put like a damage indicator on that. Yeah, look at that. Like a whole tree. Like, yeah, there's no stump back there. It looks like it was snapped off from another area and then thrown into the side of the house. Wow. I wonder if it's even possible to determine just how fast the wind speeds are in order to cause that. I really doubt that's probably pretty hard to tell. Yeah, looks like we have some farm damage here. And then there's some more over here near Arney Road. Complete structure unit debris blown away. Oh yeah, here we are. It looks like with another a very poorly built house here, completely blown off of its foundation. This is EF2 damage. Now, if this was a well-built house, then yeah, you'd be saying probably around EF4, EF5. But unfortunately, when you live in a poorly built house, which how do you know that? How do you know that before the tornado comes through? Like some people have a semblance, but like how do you know like if it's actually bad or not? Like if your house is built like poorly, like can you can't ask your construction guy because they'll be like, yeah, we did a great job. What are you talking about? I guess if it's old, that's one way to tell. Like if it's built on old construction, what the heck is going on with this tree? Like the whole tree is like been turned into a beehive. I've never seen a tree like that. That's weird. But yeah, it looks like there is some sort of metal building destroyed there. So yeah, that was the EF2. I think this is the tornado emergency here in Michigan. And then the other one that happened near Dewajak here has an EF2 damage indicator, which is this pole, but it was rated EF1. With looks like it was 950 yards wide and max wind of 95. So, but this is an EF2 damage indicator. So I'm not sure if they're thinking about upgrading it or not, or maybe this is a little bit old. But yeah, a whole lot of stuff happened. Also, we had those late night tornadoes over there in Tallahassee. Look at this. This is crazy. We had two tornadoes essentially go through the same spot. And this again is with one little gust, a line of winds. Two EF2 tornadoes, pretty much almost like they both went through capital city county golf course, and in the span of seconds. And they're both EF2 tornadoes. I can't even imagine. Luckily, no one lives on that, but still, I mean, decently tracked, decently long track too, extending all the way from south of Lake Talquin over there to like Appalachia Parkway. But all right, we'll go back to that in a little bit. But does anybody want any questions in terms of where they are, or have any questions in terms of where they are within this risk? Here, feel free to put your city or zip code in the chat. We'll put you on the map. Thank you, Mark and Todd, for subscribing. I appreciate that. How are you looking for tomorrow? You're looking pretty good. Looking like mainly just a marginal risk out there for you. Let me go over to the tornado risk. Yeah, it looks like you are just in that 2%, so a pretty darn low chance. 5% there for both regions there. So, for both risks. So there is a chance for all severe weather hazards, but it's a low chance, very low chance. Nothing to really freak out about. I really do think the worst weather is going to be well down to your south. Let me also get the HRRR model going in the background here so you guys can see your timing as we're answering questions and getting cities on the chat. Let me get the tomorrow's risk up. There we go. Okay, so let me see. Let me try to come up. All right, I'll just try to get as many people as possible here. So we have Falil. there. Oh, didn't copy. Control C. Yeah, and then after this, we'll go back and if anybody thinks of any other tornadoes they want to look at, we can look at them too. Orlando, Florida is in a general thunderstorm risk for tomorrow. Casey's got a question there for Crestview. Looks like you are in parts of Florida. You could have 2 rounds there. You're in a slight risk as well. So let's kind of back this up. So your first risk could come sometime between 9 and 12, and then after that, you could get another bout of severe weather sometime in between 8 and 11 p.m. tomorrow. So 2 little rounds there. And could be some tornado potential in both of those rounds. Mainly the second round, though, is what we're looking out for with you. Pensacola, Florida. Let me look at that. Pensacola is all the way down here. Kind of the same deal for you. Yeah, looks like there is a chance for some pretty stout severe weather sometime between like 10 and 12 p.m. and then another little round, a decent amount of storms. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, looks like 1 or 2 more rounds of some storms there, because you're kind of riding on the warm frontal boundary there of the second storm. There. So you could have multiple storms along that. Could be some tornado potential, water spout to tornado potential there for Pensacola. So just make sure that you are weather aware as that comes through. All hazards will be possible. Damaging winds, tornadoes, and hail are all going to be possible there for you. Let's see here. Courtney has got a question. Let me answer it for you. Lockhart, Texas. Yeah, you're going to be in a slight risk tomorrow. It's going to be pretty early for you. You can see that your main risk is going to start sometime in between like 9 and 12, and that's going to be for the first round of storms that could come through, I guess technically the second round if you're counting the whole area. But yeah, large hail, damaging winds, and a tornado cannot be ruled out with this part of the storm. But your main threat's going to be large hail and damaging winds. Potentially even very large hail is going to be possible. So definitely be paying attention if you live in Lockhart, as these storms will pack a punch if they form just like this. Wilmington, North Carolina. North Carolina is pretty good. You're going to be in the next risk, and as of right now, it's looking pretty marginal. Actually, you're not even the next risk. Never mind. I thought parts of North Carolina were in it, but they're not. So, just maybe some thunderstorms. Not tomorrow, but the next day. So that would be Tuesday. I could potentially see some thunderstorms, but they shouldn't be severe. It's definitely a chance of rain for you, though. Let's see here. No problem, Courtney. All right, 77365 for Starday's Dream. It's in Porter, Texas. So yeah, we're still watching for tornadoes in your region tonight, but it does seem like the lower level lapse rates are going to keep these storms from really doing much. So really not overly concerned about that. But your main risk, I would say, for severe weather, including tornadoes, damaging winds, and very large hail, is going to be somewhere between 1 and 3 p.m. as this line of storms works its way towards you. Going to be definitely a storm that you need to be paying attention to there. San Antonio, or Wendy's got a question. Let me answer that. 64801. Yeah, Joplin's looking pretty good. You are in you're in the general thunderstorm risk, but your little showers could come through. Let's see. It could get some like rain, maybe some thunder, even tonight at around 8 p.m. And then another little line comes through at around 6 a.m. Might wake you up with a rumble of thunder or two, but then after that, things start to clear out and maybe some spotty rain going into like 7 or 8 p.m. tomorrow. And then it should really clear out after that. But yeah, not really talking about much severe weather for you at all. Universal City, Texas. Let me check that out for you. Universal City, Texas is over there near San Antonio. So, if anybody's watching from San Antonio or like Austin, all of this pretty much goes for you as well. So sometime between 9 and 11 or 12 p.m., line of storms will come through. And again, all hazards will be possible with the damaging winds, very large hail, and maybe a tornado can't be ruled out. So just make sure that you are weather aware. Hey, thank you, Tari, for the 20 on Cash App. I appreciate that. No message. Okay. But I do appreciate it. Everybody put birthday cakes in the chat for Tari. That's a huge help out to the channel. Thank you so much. 16046. Let me check that out. Mars, Pennsylvania. You're good. You're good. We're not talking about much of anything for you. Maybe some rain going into the 14th early morning hours there, and then maybe some thunderstorms could make it there by the time we get to late evening on Tuesday. Is Memphis okay? Memphis should be okay. We're mainly talking about some lingering severe threat going into like 11 through about 5 a.m. So maybe some flooding issues could be possible there if it really starts to train over the same areas. But we're not really talking about an elevated tornado threat, just mainly some pop-up thunderstorms that have the capability to produce some pretty marginal severe weather. We're talking potentially up to quarter-inch hail and damaging winds at the extreme end of tomorrow's risk for you. So again, that's really not that bad. Really not that bad. As long as you're indoors and away from windows, you'll be okay. Got to monitor for a small chance for a spin up, but it's on a super low end. It's not 0%. But the main thing you'll probably experience tomorrow is some rain and some thunder. Houston, Texas. Yeah, we can check that out. So Houston, Texas is, I wouldn't say 100% done for today, but what we're watching for, which we haven't been seeing, and let me just check the latest radar out here. Yeah, those lower level RAPS rates are still keeping the storms completely non-existent down here, and so there's just not the gradient between the temperatures and the atmosphere are not vast enough in order to allow for enough lift to get these storms going and to maintain themselves. So I really do think eventually here they're going to let this tornado watch expire there for Houston and coming up soon. And then coming over to the HRRR here to check out the tomorrow's threat for you. And again, this forecast is the same here for like North Cleveland, Magnolia, Sugar Land, the Woodlands, Pearl City, League City. Kind of goes for you, and also Huntsville as well, as the timing will be very similar, and the threat will also be pretty similar. So let's go ahead and push this through. Yeah, right around 1 p.m. you can see that we've got those storms approaching the Houston, Sugar Land, and the Woodlands region there. Very large hail, damaging winds of up to 60-mile-per-hour winds and above, and a tornado threat will exist with this. And this will be a little bit more guaranteed than today, because once this MCS forms, it's going to carry that little bit of a tornado risk. But you guys are kind of at the beginning of it, according to like the lower level shear that this storm is going to be bringing with it. So it's not a guarantee that you guys see some like big time nasty storms or anything, but it's definitely a lot higher of a chance of happening than it did today of seeing these storms. So just make sure you're weather aware. Again, we're talking about a threat for tornadoes, a 5% threat. So we're not talking about strong tornadoes just yet, but I do think we have to monitor the models. But at this point, no matter how much the models change, I really don't think that we're going to be under a strong tornado risk. But could have a little spin up in there, but your main threat's going to be damaging winds and very large hail there, and that should get started sometime in between 1 and 3 p.m. tomorrow. Baton Rouge. Yeah, we'll check that out for you. The old Baton Rouge. So yeah, your guys' forecast is a little bit complex. mainly because you're going to be it seems like you're going to be south of those storms that are happening right now. You can see that storm is a little bit up there to your north. Let's check out your current radar here for Baton Rouge, and this is going to be a similar forecast for like New Iberia, Opelousas, and also New Orleans as well. We'll go over that, but yeah, all these storms are to your north. You got a couple bubblers down here that might eventually cause some noise. They should stay sub-severe though, and definitely not too much of a tornado problem there. But let's go bring this back over to the HRRR model. But yeah, so you can see those storms are going to stay most likely to your north, and some of them might impact you with maybe some light rain and some thunder initially here. And then as we go into the early morning hours of tomorrow, it looks like you guys are going to be right on that warm frontal boundary by around 4 p.m. So could potentially see some spin ups along that. And then as the main line comes through at around in between like 5 and 8 p.m., you guys definitely need to be weather aware there. Can I show the Aurora forecast again? Yeah, we can give you guys the latest details on that really quick. Because I think it updates like once every 5 minutes. Yeah, it's going down, guys. It's still going down. So we were at like 80 gigawatts or whatever that means, GW. I'm not an expert on this, but I do know what this means. Green means look up. Red means stuff might start glowing. And it's not even yellow. So, that aurora is forecasted all the way up there in Canada. So I really doubt, unless you live like maybe extreme northern Minnesota or extreme northern Maine, that you'll be able to even catch anything with a long exposure with this thing right now. But yeah, it's the latest little update here. It's piddly diddly. It's piddly diddly. We'll see what happens. Again, it's really hard to predict auroras and what they're going to do. So, that's why saying anything definite about an aurora is stupid. So hopefully you didn't watch any videos today that were like, it's going to happen, big time aurora coming. You're going to be able to see it all the way down at the equator. Because nobody knows that. It's very similar to weather, so you should treat it the same in terms of being skeptical, but also just being prepared. Especially if you live in those northern states, just make sure you have your camera charged or your phone charged, and be ready to go just in case the forecast changes or the forecast starts to ramp up and we start to see, higher chances of seeing aurora. But in terms of like telling you what will happen, I got no idea. I have zero idea. I'm a weatherman. I can tell you where the clouds are going to be, but that's about it. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I want to see it again too. All right, let's see here. Chirino, Texas. Yeah, we'll answer that real quick. Chirino. Yeah, it looks like you're going to be kind of on the border here. So this storm will either go directly over you or just to your south. The HRRR isn't some crystal ball holding model here. It can't tell you your exact future using magic. Unfortunately, it would be nice, although I'd be out of a job if that was possible. But as you can see, it looks like it's going to go to your south, but this model could be wrong in the placement of these storms. So I'd be prepared for something in between like 1 and 4 p.m. And all hazards will be possible, including large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. Thank you, Melody, for subscribing. I appreciate it. Kalamazoo, Michigan. Tomorrow, looks like your main threat is going to be rain. Maybe you might get a rumble of thunder, especially going into like 4 to 8 p.m., but we're not expecting anything severe at this moment. Gainesville, Florida. Let me see. Gainesville, Florida. It's not showing up. I have to put an S in there. Will that make a difference? It actually did. So yeah, it looks like you're going to be in the general thunderstorm risk You might be at a marginal risk the next day, but either or, your main thing that you're going to be seeing over the next 2 to 3 days is going to be rain and maybe some thunder. Yeah, very small chance for severe weather going into Tuesday. We'll keep an eye on it, but as of right now, not overly concerned about Tuesday. Tomorrow's really our main day. And even at that, I mean, we're talking about potential for some low end severe weather to maybe some spotty higher end severe weather. Just depends on how the models continue to develop. I do think, though, we could get an increase maybe to an enhanced risk, and that would mainly be like in this region. I would think where damaging winds and very large hail. And maybe even a strong tornado can't be ruled out from this system. Let's see here. Morton, Mississippi. Let me see where Morton, Mississippi is. Morton, Mississippi's over there in the slight risk. So, yeah, you're going to have all hazards possible there. You're going to have a first round at around 3 a.m. there. And that should be your main round. Now, if we get a couple more severe thunderstorms pop up a little bit further north, you might see some more severe weather around 8 p.m. But it does seem like the main axis of that severe weather stays to your south, and your main risk is going to be, overnight at around like 3 a.m. there as those storms approach like Jackson, Mississippi, in your area. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. Did you hear that there were? Yes, I did. Apparently, there was like up to three land spouts in Colorado. I actually retweeted some photos on that stuff. I can't show it on my stream, but you guys can come over to my Twitter. I'll put my Twitter into chat. I retweeted 2 photos from those land spouts in Colorado. If you want to go look at them, there's one that looked like a gustnado or land spout, and then there was another one that was definitely a land spout. Yeah, no problem, Deborah. Athens, Alabama is going to be in the general thunderstorm risk for tomorrow. So I'm not really expecting too much up there. In terms of the next day, though, yeah, it looks like you're going to be mainly expecting some thunderstorms, and they should stay non-severe that far north. This is mainly an event for the Gulf Coast, with some folks a little bit further north experiencing severe weather from this complex that's kind of working its way off to the east. Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. So Santa Rosa Beach is right in here near Destin. That's a slight risk for severe weather. So it's a 2 out of 3, and it looks like your first couple of storms are going to be coming through at around like lunchtime, around 12 p.m. That kind of moves through there, and then we got another potential round as you kind of ride that warm front of the next little MCS at around 9 p.m. Could have a couple rounds of some severe storms come through there, bringing a like water spout to tornado potential, and then some damaging winds on the backside of that. So definitely a day where I would be weather aware there. That's tomorrow, Southern Alabama, like around like the Dothan, Enterprise, and Saraland. You guys are gonna get this first round of storms early in the morning around 9 a.m. That's gonna push down to the south and east towards like Mobile by around 10 a.m. sometime at around that time frame, and then after that pushes through, you're gonna have some lingering rain, and then things are gonna start to pick up mainly for like the Mobile area as we get into like 5 to 10 p.m. Then after that, things should quiet down for Southern Alabama. Anything like last week? What happened? Oh, you mean those? Yeah, I mean it's pretty similar. A little MCS with a spin up tornado threat. So yeah, like that storm that went through Tallahassee. So that would be this one here. So like that storm that came through Tallahassee, a scenario like this could play out again. I do think that like maybe an EF2 spin up along a very strong gust front could be possible. And I don't think we're gonna get 3 tornadoes in one city with one storm like what happened to Tallahassee. But you can't rule out those quick little spin ups, and some of which could be strong. So it's going to be kind of a similar thing to that, where it's you could get some periods of some pretty strong winds, and along that gust front, you could potentially get some tornadoes there. Hey, thank you, Sherry Scales, for the 50. It's Mama Scales there. No problem. Tell your sons thank you, or tell your son thank you for coming out here and look at that and giving us beautiful views of storms. They are grinding. They are grinding. This is Storm Runner Media. DL Scales is the one that's driving this car right now. And yeah, thank you so much. Everybody put birthday cakes in the chat for Sherry Scales. Hopefully, you had a wonderful Mother's Day. These are some pretty interesting storms here in Texas. They're not severe, but pretty cool view here from Storm Runner Media. They're over there by Carlsbad, Texas, and these are kind of the beginning kind of disturbances in the atmosphere that will eventually form that cold pool of air that could kick off these storms for tomorrow, especially around there near Austin and Waco. Great, glad to hear that. But yeah, I mean it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. It's one of those days that could really that could do a lot or not too much. It just really depends on where that instability forms. Because one of the scenarios tomorrow that could make it a little bit less threatening is what this storm does initially here. If we get too much precipitation, a little bit more than what is expected, and that and this guy back here is a little bit weaker than expected, then we could get a cap form here, and that would minimize the tornado threat quite a lot. But there still should be a damaging wind threat and a large hail threat, regardless of what really happens with that outflow boundary. But, if this is a little bit stronger than expected, and this is a little bit weaker, and we don't have as much of an outflow boundary, we could see some of that severe weather maybe extend a little bit further up to the north. So those are the different kind of scenarios that we're watching, and it's mainly going to be modulated by what these storms do initially here and where that outflow boundary ends up setting up. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of people got a break on Mother's Day. I mean, we've been having tornado warnings after tornado warnings for a couple of days now. Since on my break, I've been kind of going crazy, but I had to let my voice heal. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is the first day where we really haven't had too much going on, at least later on in the day. I haven't had one tornado warning. Man, the severe storms have been pretty piddly diddly so far. We did just get a severe thunderstorm warning over here in Kansas, though. Let's go check that out. Oh, yeah. Got a decent little line of storms over here. 1 inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Even got little areas of some broad and weak rotation up there near Grainfield, but I'm not overly concerned about that as that approaches Quinter. We'll keep an eye on it. Although, me saying that probably just jinxed us. We'll probably now get a tornado warning bonanza since I said it's been pretty quiet. That's what always happens. I'll end my stream and then all of a sudden we get tons of tornado warnings. It's just not fair. And then everybody blames me for it. Like, why did you say that? You know better. Clarksville, Tennessee's looking like some thunderstorms there. Some thunderstorms are going to be possible sometime on Tuesday, early in the morning there, but mainly just some heavier rain could be possible. Not really talking about too much of a severe threat up there. Didn't notice I was live. Yeah, we're mainly just doing a forecast with this live stream. Just a nice little forecast. Like we used to usually do before, we had storms every day. We used to be able to do a lot more of these forecasts, a lot more in depth. This is so for the new subscribers that aren't really familiar with this channel, other than live coverage, this is what we usually do before storms, the day before, when we actually have some time. And it's not just like rapid fire severe weather like we've had for literally the last month and a half. And yeah, we usually get to sit here and try to answer your guys' questions. We like to talk about, we like to kind of give answer questions about what happened and where with the last event. We like to kind of just hang out and try to and try to help you guys as much and educate you guys as much as possible when it comes to like previous events. Does anybody have any more questions about their tornadoes in their state? Because again, we got this huge database here where we can not only tell you the strength of the tornado nearby that happened, but also we have little photos we can show as well. Cypress, Texas. Let me check that out for you. Cypress, Texas. Okay, looks like you're going to be in a slight risk, and looks like your main time frame for tornadoes or for damaging winds, tornadoes, is going to be in between like 12 and 3 p.m. So definitely be weather aware around that time. Hopefully, it won't be anything too difficult to deal with, just because the lower level shear should be a little bit lower, so tornado risk should increase as we go on later in the day, and it will kind of just start around Houston. At least that's the forecast right now. That'll be sometime around like 12 and 3 p.m. How am I? I'm doing pretty good. I'm nice and rested finally for once. Had enough time to actually take a shower before tonight's stream, which is nice. Don't get to do that. That's why I wear the hat. Like, so a lot of times it's just rapid fire, especially this last couple like month and a half. Just been, just constantly just like wake up, make thumbnail, organize the stream, go live. Not even had time to barely eat breakfast. Had to order DoorDash. It's just been insane these last couple of weeks, and I'm just, I'm happy that I finally had a little bit of a breather, and I was able to go outside, touch some grass, absorb some vitamin D, sit in the sun, watch an aurora. It was great. So I'm feeling good. The Madison, Alabama tornado was an EF0. So that would be this one here. This one was an EF0. And we have some trees that were like blown down here, weak, small trees. And it looks like that went from like Hardington Drive to Slaughter Road there. This is the Damage Viewer website. Here, I'll put it in chat, the link for the people that want to look at it in their free time. Not too much on the Atlantic coast. The storms should really die off. These are going to eat whatever instability is available for these storms, which really isn't a whole lot. So we're really not expecting too much to happen the next day after this, but something to keep an eye on. Never know, models could change. But day 3 is really going to depend on what happens on Monday. Charlotte is out of both risks. Oh, you mean the Charlotte tornado? Yeah, we can look at that. So here's a Charlotte tornadoes here. There's actually 2. One over here near Cherryville and another one north of Gastonia, and they were both EF1s. So let's go check over here near Cherryville. We had trees uprooted. Oh, wow, that tree fell in a house back there. That's not good. Doesn't seem like it really breached too far in there, though, so hopefully everybody was okay. Then we had another one here south of Ranlow. So yeah, that's just to the west of Charlotte. You can see Charlotte's right there, Mount Holly, Belmont, and then north of Gastonia had electrical transmission lines. Oh, that thing got snapped in half. Wow. Had another one fall in a business here near Camco. Had another couple of trees snapped in half there. North of Lowell had more trees snapped. It looks like it's mainly trees and power lines. It doesn't really seem like there was much significant. All right, here we go. Small. So yeah, some part of a guardrail here was knocked down at Janisha Food Mart. There. Yeah, those were the Charlotte tornadoes. There's also in North Carolina some tornadoes there near Black Mountain, an EF or a tornado near Black Mountain And that was an EF0, mainly just tree damage, it appears. The Pequot, Ohio tornado. Let me see if I can find that. Pequot, Ohio. See if it's in there. Do you know what date that was? Because there was one that happened near Greenville, and that was on the 7th. Does that sound about right? Thank you, Derek, for subscribing. I appreciate you. No problem, Sarah. Thank you for being curious. Tuesday this month. Well, this is the only tornado that I can see on this website near Pequot. Thank you, Carmen, for the 5. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. You've had enough. I believe you. I believe you. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. Luckily, tomorrow shouldn't be too crazy, but it's one of those days that might surprise us. Yeah, no attachments found, but it does seem like this tornado went through Greenville, Ohio on the 7th. And that was the only one near Pequot. We also had a couple up here near St. Mary's on the 7th as well, north of New Bremen. EF2, 2 EF2, a pair of EF2s there. No damage on those ones. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like they post as much damage photos as some of these other states. Can I look at the Gerald tornado track? You mean from a long time ago? No, we're just focusing on kind of the recent outbreak here. Florida. Okay, let me check that for you. It seems like you got a question about the severe weather. So that's Pensacola. So you are in the slight risk. It's kind of a dynamic situation here for you. You could have some storms as early as 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's going to be your first round. Some damaging winds, large hail is going to be possible as that comes through, a small tornado threat as well. But your main threat's going to be from this guy, as the latest HRRR kind of sets you guys up here right along the warm front there, south of Mobile, heading into Pensacola. So if you are in the path of these storms, just make sure you are weather aware. Really, from you're gonna have a little break after that first round, but then starting at around 8 and then ending by around 12 a.m., you could have a little bit of an increase there of the tornado threat and damaging winds with large hail as well. How's Lano, Texas? Let me see where Lano is. Lano, double L. Lano, Texas. So yeah, the rest of tonight, you guys are looking good. You could have some spotty showers there, but we're mainly talking over in the morning hours. And this storm will either form right next to you and go over you, or it'll go to your south. And that'll be sometime at around 9 a.m. To 11 a.m. where those storms could happen. So I'd be weather aware around there. Just be looking around, start to hear thunder. Go indoors and look for local alerts. Yeah, me too. Me too. The break was amazing. Let's check back in here, see if we can get a view again from this storm here with Storm Runner Media. They're over here near San Angelo, Texas now.
I don't know when this was yesterday.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. It was probably that one severe warning that went all the way across.
Oh, look at that. There's a storm, I think. Pretty sure that's a storm.
Alright, how are we looking on radar here?
Well, there's a storm. It's looking a little piddly diddly.
It goes up to 40 and half-inch hail.
Half-inch hail. Little piddly diddly storm, but it looks cool. And I bet you when that sunset comes in, it'll look even better. But unfortunately, we won't be around for that. But if you guys want to look at these storms, the beginnings potentially of the storms that'll happen tomorrow, come over here to Storm Runner Media. They are live on YouTube. They are live on YouTube. But for me, that's going to be it for today's live stream. I do appreciate all of you guys tuning in for this. Again, this is what we do usually every time before a severe weather outbreak. So if you ever want to get your answers or your questions answered, or try to get I try to answer as many as possible. But again, we usually get a lot of people in asking questions. I try to be efficient. Typically, when it's a bigger weather event, we'll do rapid fire, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. We run the future radar so you can look at the map, find your area. The best thing to do, honestly, when I do these live streams, is to pull up your Google Maps. Pull up your Google Maps right now, and then kind of zoom out the map. And then watch the time here as the little reds and pinks come close to your area. That's the best way to kind of get a general idea of what's going to happen when I have this map up like this, when we're trying to go back and forth and answer questions. But yeah, I wish I had the ability. And that's one of the things that I am going to be working on sometime in the future here, is trying to figure out a way to answer your guys' questions in a more efficient manner. Because I really do feel like answering the local questions in terms of the risk, the timing of the storms, and all of that is super important. And that is one way that getting your answers on YouTube should be more helpful. But I understand I do miss a lot of your guys' questions, and I apologize for that. And yeah, I'm working on it. Hopefully I'll be able to code something, find a coder for something, and get that figured out a little bit better. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in again. Thank you for your guys' generous donations as well. Thank you, Blondie and eRev, for modding. And thank you to everybody else who just kind of showed up and chatted and asked questions. I do appreciate you guys being curious about the weather enough to learn about it before it comes. I think that's a good quality to have as a human being. Just, you never know. You have the dog outside and you're not weather aware. Could be quite dangerous for them, or a couple of pets outside, or some farm animals or whatever. Now you're prepared and you're ready to go. So thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Mother's Day for you guys. Get back to your Mother's Day activities. What are you guys doing? Why are you even here? Go eat some steak with your family. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not shaming you guys. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.